Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 23. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Yashodanandana Braja Janaranjana. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jamuna Tira Banachari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari. Jayam Vishnupada Paramahamsa Paribrajakachaja Stotara Sata Shri Srimadaisi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai. Namacharya Haridas Thakur Ki Jai. Prem se kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda. Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasadi Gora Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinata Shama Kunda Radha Kunda Giri Govardhan Ki Jai. Vrindavan Mathura Dham Ki Jai. Navadip Mayapur Dham Ki Jai. Jamuna Mai Ki Jai. Ganga Mai Ki Jai. Bhakti Devi Ki Jai. Tulsi Devi Ki Jai. Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verse 23. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam klidayantyapo, na shushyati marutaha. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam klidayantyapo, na shoshyanti marutaha. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam klidayantyapo, na shoshyati marutaha. Na never, enam unto this soul, chindanti can cut into pieces, shastrani all weapons, na never, Enam unto this soul. Dahati burns. Pavakaha fire. Na never. Cha also. Enam unto this soul. Kledayanti moistens. Apaha water. Na neva shoshayati dries. Marutaha wind. Translation in purple to Srila Prabhupada. The soul can never be cut into pieces by any weapon, nor can it be burned by fire, nor moistened by water, nor withered by the wind. Purport. All kinds of weapons, swords, flames, rains, tornadoes, etc., are unable to kill the spirit soul. It appears that there were many kinds of weapons made of earth, water, air, ether, etc., in addition to the modern weapons of fire. Even the nuclear weapons of the modern age are classified as fire weapons. But formerly there were other weapons made of all different types of material elements. Firearms were counteracted by water weapons, which are unknown to modern science. Nor do modern scientists have knowledge of tornado weapons. Nonetheless, the soul can never be cut into pieces, nor annihilated by any number of weapons, regardless of scientific devices. Nor was it ever possible to cut the individual soul from the original soul. The Mayavadi, however, cannot describe how the individual soul evolved from ignorance and consequently became covered by the illusory energy. Because they are atomic individual souls, sanatana, eternally, they are prone to be covered by the illusory energy, and thus they become separated from the association of the Supreme Lord, just as the sparks of the fire, although one in quality with the fire, are prone to be extinguished when out of the fire. In the Varaha Purana, the living entities are described as separated parts and parcels of the Supreme. They are eternally so, according to the Bhagavad Gita also. So even after being liberated from illusion, the living entity remains a separate identity, as is evident from the teachings of the Lord to Arjuna. Arjuna became liberated by the knowledge received from Krishna, but he never became one with Krishna. Nainam chindanti shastrani, nainam dahati pavakaha, na chainam kledayanti apo, na shoshayati marutaha. So here Krishna continues explaining the nature of the soul. He takes great trouble in the second chapter to explain to Arjuna that the basis of all knowledge is to understand that we are not the body. We are the spirit soul. I cannot accentuate that enough, because without understanding that we are not the body, without understanding that we don't belong to this material world, we don't belong to this body or the expansions of the body, family, community, nation, we don't belong to any of these things. We are neither male or female. We are not American or Indians or Germans or British. We are not this body. We are spirit, soul, and we are eternal servants of God. Jivera Swaruphoy Nitya Krishna Das. This was the same teaching given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu to Sanatana Goswami. Sanatana Goswami came to Lord Chaitanya to be relieved from his material conception, to be able to advance his spiritual life. So he asked him, what is the first business? And Lord Chaitanya, similarly to Lord Krishna in the second chapter, he taught the main business is to understand we are not this body. And nothing connected with the body has anything to do with who we are. We have created this body by becoming separated from Krishna. We have created this illusion by challenging Krishna. Why do we challenge Krishna? How is it possible that we can challenge Krishna? It is just like a child. He can challenge his parents. He may not be able to defeat his parents, but he can challenge them. He can throw a tantrum. He can cry. He can refuse to follow the instruction. That is because he is part and parcel of the parents. He has that power. Because Krishna is supremely independent, we also have a minute quantity of independence. The reason we have independence is that without independence, we cannot actually love. If I point a gun at you and say you have to love me, that's not love, that's coercion. That is force. You cannot force love. Love means that out of my own accord, without being subjected to any force or pressure, I decide to do something for somebody else for his benefit. So the idea of love, of bhakti, of loving Krishna, is to simply offer to him something in love and devotion. Something which is for me to offer to Krishna. Therefore, it is my offering, my activity, my action that I offer to Krishna, and it is done by me alone. That decision to offer to Krishna, it is mine. And therefore it is surprising to Krishna, and it is pleasing to Krishna because it is unexpected. Therefore Krishna says, you can offer me anything, even a leaf, water, patram, pushpam, palam, a little fruit, toyam, a drop of water. But yo me bhaktya prayachati. But if it is offered in devotion, tat aham bhakti uparitam, that item which is offered to me in loving devotion, tad aham bhakti uparitam ashnami, I eat. But then he puts a condition, priyatat manaha. Priyatat manaha means that the offering has to be pure. You cannot offer to Krishna with some hidden method. You cannot go to the temple or to the church or to the mosque with a long list of things that you want. That God, I am here, I am praying to you 5 times a day, 5 times a day. I'm coming to the temple on every festival. I'm coming every Mangal Arati. I'm coming to see you, but I want from you this. I want you to make my material life happy. I want you to give me a nice wife, or I want you to give me a qualified husband. Then I want some nice children. Then I need some nice house and activities so I can maintain my house. In other words, you come into Krishna. If you come into Krishna to pray, to continue your material existence, then Krishna is thinking, look at this. This rascal, he's coming to the church, he's coming to the temple, he's coming to the mosque. He's coming to the stupa. He's bowing down before me, and he's wanting me to give him more misery. Because material life, no matter how beautiful your wife, how qualified your husband, how wonderful your children, how wonderful and beautiful is your house and your property, how powerful you are, how great you are, no matter with these things, you still are subject to birth, death, old age and disease. Therefore Krishna clearly says, Jamma, Mrityu, Jara, Vyadi, Dukkha, Dosha, Anudarshanam. Anudarshanam. Anudarshana means, darshana means to see, and anu means to follow, to be humble, to be small. So anudarshana means that you see your relationship with the material world not through your gross senses, but through the authority of someone who actually knows what is going on. So this anudarshanam should teach us that the world we're living in is dukkalayam ashash. It is full of misery. And even if you accept the misery, even if you think, yes, the miseries of the material world are a challenge, and I am so strong and so great, I will fight against this channel, I will win this challenge. Even if I die, I don't care. Even if you think like that, Krishna says, anudarsha. It is duk ashashvatam. It is temporary. You will be kicked out, no matter how powerful you become. So when we look around at the material world in which we live, when we see our peers, when we see our government leaders, our political leaders, our leaders of arts and industry, it is all temporary. We all wish, we all glorify other people's success. People become famous. People become glorified by so many others. But it's a temporary thing. Those very, very important people will be dead and gone with the passing of time. Nothing is lasting. Nothing, everything is ashashvatam. Therefore, Krishna points out in this chapter again and again that everything you do, everything connected to your present situation is a temporary thing. The only thing that has any meaning is your relationship with me. Just like the only meaning my finger has is this connection to my body. As long as my finger is connected to my body, it is efficient and it works. In fact, if anything goes wrong with my finger, I will spend time and money to get it cured and to make it well. But if the finger gets cut off, then it is useless. It has no business. It doesn't anymore serve me. So in the same way, we are connected to Krishna, just like our limbs are connected to our body. But if we disconnect from Krishna, then they are useless. It has no value. We have to understand this very, very clearly. So, in the Bhagavatam, it is said that Savai Pumsam Parodharmo Yato Bhaktir Adokshare. The real activity, the paradharma, or the real essence of what we need to do is bhakti adokshare, is devotion to the Supreme Lord. Ahituki apratiyata yenatma suprasidasi. Why is that important? Because if you perform devotion to the Lord, even in a small way, but if you do it with sincerity, if you do it constantly, without any hidden motive, without any hidden list, then yenatma suprasidasi. That will make you happy. That will give you the kind of happiness that no matter how many problems you may be in material life, it will guide you through. It is like having a proper captain on a proper ship going through the ocean. No matter how big the wave, if the ship is well constructed and the captain is qualified, you are sure to go through and reach your destination. Now, many people go to the church and they ask from God so many things. So Krishna says, Chaturvida Vajantemam Jana Sukritino Arjuna. The four kinds of people worship me and they are Sukritino. Sukritino means they are pious, but they don't stand out. Everybody goes to God for something. From the moment we are born, we demand from God so many things. Give me this, give me that, give me the other. Constantly, constantly, constantly. So if you want to stand out, if you want God to notice you, don't ask him for anything. When you go to the temple, or when you go to the temple of your heart, because the temple actually begins within your heart. The real temple is there, because that's where Krishna is residing, and that's where he is monitoring all your thoughts and all your desires and all your hankerings. Within your heart, if he sees that you don't ask for anything, then he becomes attracted. He says, just see, so many people keep asking me for so many things. Here's someone who's not asking for anything. So if he's not asking, I will give him something. And believe me, when Krishna gives you something, you don't need anything else. And that was proven by Srila Prabhupada. He came to America. He was wondering, will these people actually hear the message of the Bhagavatam? He wrote one beautiful song in Boston when he landed in America. Boro Kripa Koile Krishna Adamera Prati. The Krishna gave a lot of mercy, Boro Kripa. To who? Adamera Prati, to this fallen soul. Prabhupada didn't think I'm coming to America as a conquering warrior. I'm not coming here to defeat everybody. He came as Adhamera Prati, as a fallen soul. Kila gia nile eto koro ebegati. So whatever reason you have brought me here, Krishna said, Prabhupada prays, let that reason be manifest. Ache kichu karja tava e anumane. I am thinking, my dear Lord, that you have some business here. Naikeno anibe e ugrastane. Otherwise, I don't understand why you have brought me to this ugrastane, to this very, very ugly place. And believe me, the material world is an ugly place. Ever since childhood, like all of us, we were brought up following American culture. The movies, cowboys, Indians, the Second World War, all about America. America, everything came from America. Blue jeans, guitars, rock and roll, the blues, everything was coming from America. Books, lectures, everything. So it is natural that as I grew up, I wanted to visit America. So I went. Eventually, I got a chance to visit America. I spent a lot of time there. But I never really liked it, to be frank. Later on, when I went back as a devotee, I understood why. I would go for walks in New York, sometimes in Montreal. I spent a lot of time in Canada or in California. And I would walk early in the morning or late in the evening chanting my grounds, and I would see these beautiful buildings. But if you walk behind the building, if you go into the alleys, you'll see it is all dirty. That front beauty, it is just a facade. It is just a show. The real essence of this beautiful, so-called beautiful city, it is full of rats, full of sewers, full of unspeakable rubbish. Because it's what we create. But if you go to the forest, if you go to a beautiful garden, if you go to the natural place, and that's why we hanker to go into nature, because it is beautifully built by Krishna. When Krishna manifested his pastime to this material world, there were cities, of course, Mathura and Dwarka, but his real pastimes, where he never leaves, are in the forests of Vrindavan. And that's all we need. All we need is to become thankful to Krishna, to become dependent upon Krishna, and he will provide us everything because we are his children, we are his sons. We are his sons and daughters. Why should the Father not give us the very best he can? That faith we must have, that because I am the eternal servant of God, because I am the soul intimately connected with him, then I have nothing to worry. Krishna will provide everything I need. Ananyas chintayanto mam, one who thinks of me, ananyas, without any other reason, purely, without deviation, ye jana paryupasate, tesham nitya abhiyuktanam, yogakshemam vahamyaham. That person who thinks of me like that, with love and devotion, who is always connected, yuktanam, connecting everything to me, who sees me everywhere, yogakshema vahamyaham. I will give him everything he needs. Yogakshema means that knowledge, that power to never forget me, to connect, to reconnect with me, to wake up his eternal consciousness. And this is what we need to do. And the process is very simple. We simply need to associate with Krishna. Just like if I want to make some piece of iron into fire, I put the iron into the fire and it will get hotter and hotter and red hot and white hot, and it will become like fire. In the same way, if we simply connect with Krishna by hearing and chanting, and especially in this Kali Yuga, the chanting process is the Yuga Dharma, that we can associate with Krishna through his holy name. Bhaktivinoda also wrote a beautiful song where he says that the name of Krishna It is so powerful, it has arisen in my heart. And it has become the greatest wealth that I have. It is already there. It is Nitya Siddha. When Prabhupada came to America and he began his very humble attempt to present Bhagavad Dharma, he found that people reacted because it is already there. It simply took his purity and his humility for Krishna to act. Krishna is in everyone's heart. He can make anyone a devotee in 1 second if he wants. In fact, one time, one of Lord Chaitanya's associates came to him and said, "My dear Lord," Vasudev Datta was his name, "My dear Lord, I feel so much pain when I see the suffering of the living entities. I cannot bear it. I feel that pain because I know you feel it too. And I'm your servant. I don't want you to feel pain. I love you. I want you to feel happy. Therefore, please give me all the sinful activities of all these souls, and I will suffer them, but send them all back home, back to God. If you think they are unqualified to God, just give me the sinful reactions, and I will suffer in the material world." So Lord Chaitanya smiled, and he said, "My dear Vasudev Datta, if you take a huge bag of mustard seeds, mustard seed is very, very tiny. If you take a bag with millions of mustard seeds, if one mustard seed drops out, there is no loss. So this universe in which we live, is just like a mustard seed in a bag of billions and millions and billions of mustard seeds. So automatically, if everybody goes back to Godhead, there is no loss for Krishna. And in fact, when Lord Ramachandra appeared, he sent everybody back to Godhead from Ayodhya. When Krishna appeared, everybody from Mathura and Dwarka went back to the spiritual world. The entire universe went back to the spiritual world, and when Lord Chaitanya also. So the devotee, he wants to please Krishna. And it is by the devotee's desire to please Krishna that the living entities become liberated. We are simply there is another song which Bhaktivinoda wrote about the Vaishnava, our relationship to the Vaishnava, my and your relationship to Srila Prabhupada. Yogita bichare kichu nai pai. If you examine me, I have no qualities. Tomara karuna sar. My only quality is because of your mercy. I know for a fact that before I met Prabhupada, I had no good qualities. The good qualities were there for a show. But the real business was to enjoy material life. And if I could enjoy material life and not make anybody upset, that was good. But if somebody interfered with my enjoying of my senses, then there was conflict. And this is the material world. Thank you very much. So, first of all, I want to apologize for missing the classes last week. I'm not a pure devotee. Sometimes I get depressed, I get upset. And the desire to preach becomes more difficult. But I'm doing my best, so please be tolerant with me. So now we have many people have logged in. Atmavidya Das, our humble obeisances to the devotees. Dandavas Pranam Prabhu. Krishna Premavati also. Rob Ealings. Mandy Prior, good evening. Albert DeVos. Vrishni Vamsadas. All glories to the assembled devotees. Krishna Premavati. Devidasi comments that yesterday I read a line in the purport of Bhagavad Gita 2.1. Compassion for the eternal soul is self-realization. How can self-realization be simply showing compassion? Can you please elaborate if time allows or later? Well, compassion is one of the wonderful qualities which we can develop. First of all, Krishna is our Supreme Father. And all these sons and daughters in the living world, and there is millions of us, 900,000 in the ocean, 1,100,000 insects, so many. And we are all suffering in the material world. So Krishna, he feels responsible for us. He gives us all we need. He gives us all facilities, but his main business is he wants us to come back home, back to God. So if we feel that compassion for Krishna, then we also should have compassion. Because if I love Krishna, then if some problem is there with Krishna, then I want to solve that problem. Like one time, there's the story that Krishna, he had a headache in Dwarka. So they called the physicians, they called all the Kaviraj, and they couldn't cure his headache. So they said to him, "Dear Krishna, we don't know what to do." He said, "The only reason, the only product, the only medicine that will cure my headache is if you take the dust of my devotees' lotus feet and put it on my head." So they said, "It's impossible. No devotee will allow the dust of his feet to be put on your head. It's a great offense." It is so in Dwarka. Nobody was ready to do this. So Krishna says, "Send somebody to Vrindavan. Ask my devotees there, ask the gopis." So somebody, probably Uddhava, he went to Vrindavan and he requested the gopis, the "Dear gopis, Krishna has a headache." And they became very, very worried, very concerned. And the only medicine is to have the dust from your lotus feet. "Will you please give me the dust?" They said, "Sure, as much as you want." So he was surprised. He said, "Don't you know that if you put the dust of your feet onto the head of Krishna, you will go to hell?" So they said, "So let us go to hell, but let Krishna's headache be cured." So the devotee, he doesn't mind going to hell, but he wants Krishna to be happy. When he sees that the living entities are suffering, he wants to elevate them. That's the real quality of a Vaishnava. A Vaishnava is not somebody who's got tilak and kantimala and danda and sits on an asana and can speak very nicely. No, a Vaishnava is one who has compassion for the suffering of the living entities. So, Krishna Premavati continues that the atheists also do not ask God for anything. No, but they ask the material nature. So indirectly they are depending upon God too. Rob comments that he moved to America and loved it on a 44-acre farm. Quite an experience. Well, that's not the American cities. America is very beautiful, beautiful land. You're very fortunate to live on a farm. So, Nama Avatar. So Krishna Prema Bhatti continues, but they have no faith in God, no love of God. So we are meant to love him no matter what, for anything, and not asking for anything. It is hard. I do ask for strength to bear my trials and troubles. That is perfectly bona fide. There is a song praying to Krishna. Bhaktivinoda said, "Tolo more bale," give me the strength to support the trials and tribulations of the material world. You can ask for Krishna, and you can ask for his service, you can ask for his association. That is completely bona fide because it is towards perfection. Vrishnivamsa asks if Pradumna Prabhu Pandit translated and finished the 11th and 12th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam on his own account. I have no idea. I haven't seen him since 2003. We met in Calcutta soon after Prabhupada passed away, 1978, 79. And then I met him again in 2003. So, thank you very much, and see you on Friday. Haribol.